The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.
Hello, I'm Mark Story and welcome to the Racing Postcast. I'm here today with Nick Watts from the Racing Post, David Jennings, our Irish man from the Racing Post, and Brendan Duke from Paddy Power. Hello, gents. Hello, Nick.
Good day.
How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Looking forward to the week.
How's your luck been?
Yeah, it's been all right, not too bad. Yeah, ticking over.
David, it's got to be one of the best weeks of the year, hasn't it, this?
Yeah, it's one of these weeks where you just try and drink and bet as much as you can. That's the way it works. And if you come out of the week still alive and with something in your wallet, it's always a bonus.
Didn't I read you're going to drink 160,000 pints this week, or was that the whole number of pints?
Yeah, the very witty Tom Lee from Channel 4 actually tweeted that today, because he said, "There's a big mistake in your piece today," and I was like, "Oh God, what the hell is it?" And then he revealed his quite witty joke. He probably won't be that far off, mind you.
No. And Brendan, how are you, Brendan?
Not too bad, Mark. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well. Where's your focus? Will it be Galway, Goodwood? How do you split yourself in a week like this?
Basically, I focus on Goodwood.
Goodwood. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you looking forward to mostly during Goodwood?
Well, this Sussex is a race. I
Yeah.
mean, they're billing it as a duel on the downs, but I think you can make a case for about 5 of them.
Okay. We'll go to Goodwood and Galway in a minute, but let's first of all just quickly look back at the weekend and the King George to kick off with. Nick, what did you make of the race, and what would you do if Highland Reel was yours? What would you do next?
Well, first of all, I listened to it on 5 Live because I was driving on Saturday afternoon, so I heard it first on the radio. And what struck me then, before I'd even seen it, was the commentators saying that Highland Reel was basically gifted the race and was given an easy lead, no challenges from behind. And it seemed quite predictable listening to it. And then I watched it back in the evening, and I pretty much agreed with what the radio commentators had said, actually. I thought I didn't think it was one of Ryan Moore's greatest rides. I'm sure he'd say that himself. I'm sure he's got hundreds better in the locker than that. And he just made all... he's quickened it up when he wanted to. He slowed it down when he wanted to. And I thought the other jockeys in behind, they were all guilty of just sleeping. I thought it was dreadful efforts from those in behind, particularly Pellier on Dartmouth. I think if you back Dartmouth on Saturday, you can be very disappointed with the ride he got. He was still going well, turning for home, but Pellier was in no hurry to move up to Highland Reel whatsoever. And basically, I thought gave the horse far too much to do. Good ride from Ryan Moore, but he's just taken told of some dreadful tactics, I think, by the other jockeys.
Do you agree, David?
Yeah, it's funny. Everything after the race is about this Moore masterclass, and it was a very good ride. Like, I just wonder if anybody else rode the horse would have got as much publicity. You know, it was a really good ride. Make no mistake about it. But I think no matter what way he rode the horse, he probably would have won. He was the best horse in the race. It was an absolutely desperate King George. Desperate. Like, I remember growing up where the King George was the race of the summer. It was the one race you looked forward to. You wouldn't even be thinking about Goodwood because you were thinking about the King George. And like, some of them horses that ran in that race on Saturday, like, they didn't really deserve to be in the race at all. And that's the way it panned out. The best horse won the race. The best jockey won the race. It's as simple as that, really. At no stage, like Nick said, at no stage during the race that I think any other horse could possibly win the race. And that's the way it panned out. Like, I think the official distance maybe a quarter, length and a half. But look, realistically, he was more superior than the winning margin suggests. And is he the best middle distance horse in Ballydoyle? I'd say he's probably not in the top 3 or 4.
Brendan, what did you pick up from this race? Looking forward, what horse would you identify as one we can kind of latch onto a little bit and maybe make a little bit of a profit?
Oh, I don't know. You can definitely upgrade Dartmouth, as Nick said. Paul Keaty was on his podcast on Friday saying, I think Highland Reel might get a soft lead here. And I said, oh no, well, Dartmouth will keep him honest. He made the running over 1.6 miles in Chester. And Pellier jumps him out of the stalls and takes a pull, as if, I don't care what anyone else does, I'm taking a pull here. And they went pedestrian gallop. All the horse does is stay. He never had any chance. But, I mean, he's entered the Irish Ledger, so he's not going to win that. Aidan's horse will win that. I don't know. The race was a bit of a ride-off for me.
Now, earlier on we saw Fair Eva, another success for the Frankel progeny. Was that a more impressive performance? Was that the most sort of memorable performance of the whole afternoon for you, Brendan?
Yes, I'd say it was, because I was going into it thinking the promise to be true should be favoured for the Guineas, and she wasn't, and I was wrong. Fairy was brilliant because it was just a second, a furlong out. She came up, and there was a couple of strides when she was being eyeballed by a Johnson horse, and you thought, oh, this will be a bit of a test for her. She's just winged away from it, and plus she'd no cover on the outside, so you could arguably upgrade the run. Yeah, it was a savage effort.
And what's the betting like for the 1,000?
She's 4-1 Fav, promised to be true is 14-1, and then 20's bar.
Nick, Fair Eva, in terms of the 2-year-olds, how did you rate her performance?
Yeah, right up there with the best of them I've seen this season, really. Yeah, she's won both her races now by 4 lengths, and they both worked out quite well as well. There's been winners coming from behind her debut win, and the second horse she beat on Saturday is quite a useful tool as well. So, you know, she's looking very, very promising indeed, and I love the way she went away from them in the closing stages. She's a deserved favourite, I think, for next year.
David, did you get to see the race?
I did indeed, yeah, and it's the last 7 days in particular have been really informative for next year's Classics. They really have. I was in Leopardstown last Thursday night, and I seen the great Mr. Brendan Duke, the highlight of the night, was pumping into him outside the parade ring. I was like Brendan. I was all over Promise to be True. I've actually been on analysis duty both times she's ran. I was there Tipperary when it was an astonishing performance. I don't care what she beat. To come from last to first in the space of less than a furlong, it was an unbelievable performance. I thought she was going to finish last to 5, and she ended up winning cozily. And again, at Leopardstown the last day in the Silver Flash, I just thought, when asked to do what she had to do, I thought it was quite impressive the way she did it so quickly, in between horses, a furlong out. And then, like, if you watch the race again, Ryan Moore never hit her. I spoke to Ryan after the race, and he thinks there's lots more to come. And then you think to yourself, right, she's the one horse you want to back for next year's Classics in the 1,000 guineas. And then you see this bloody Fair Eva coming out on Saturday. And the camera angle, I watched the race on Channel 4. I don't know if it's the same in Racing UK, but the camera angle on Channel 4, when about 3 out, when she started to make her move, it was like as if she was like carrying 3 stone less than the rest of them. It was just phenomenal, that performance. This year, so far, the fillies, the 2-year-old fillies, have looked a cut above the 2-year-old colts, and those two in particular promise to be True and Fair Eva. If both of them turn up in next year's 1,000 guineas, it's going to be a cracker.
Here's Paddy Power's latest offer for glorious Goodwood. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP5 in every single race throughout the festival. Max £25 per race, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Hello, welcome to the Racing Postcast. Again, I'm Mark Story. I'm here with Nick Watts from the Racing Post, David Jennings from the Racing Post on Ireland, and Brendan Duke from Paddy Power. Now we've got a fantastic week to look forward to. Galway's already underway. Goodwood starts on Tuesday. Now, Nick, let's have a look at Goodwood on Tuesday. The Lennox. What's catching your eye there?
I think it's a good chance for Dutch Connection, actually. I've been on the Postcast before after his last run in the Summer Mile, and I thought that was a good effort. And I said then he needed dropping down to 7 furlongs again. I think that's his trip. I think he just struggles to see out a mile, and that was borne out by that run at Ascot when he just faded in the closing, like 100 yards or so, having looked as though he might win the furlong or so out. So I think this kind of race is absolutely ideal for him. He's won at Goodwood before. He was second in the race last year behind Tormore. Good last time out run, like I said, at Ascot. I think it's a good chance for him to get his head in front.
David, is this a good Dolphin benefit, this race, or can you see something else coming into it?
It looks that way. Nick stole my thunder there. I know, obviously, past performances have proved me wrong, but I don't think Dutch Connection really stays a mile that strongly. I really don't. I thought even the last day at Ascot, you know, he looked to be going every bit as well as Muta KF, and then just when push came to shove inside the final kind of 200 yards, I don't think he quite gets it. I think 7 furlongs at Goodwood is just made for him. You know, last year against two or more, he was winning reasonably prominently that day, I thought, and had every chance, but just wasn't good enough on the day. But there was a bit of cut in the ground that day. I think that it was good to soft last year, whereas I think it's going to be a couple bit quicker, which will suit Dutch Connection this time, I think, anyway. I think it's not a particularly strong renewal of the race. It's quite open, and from a betting perspective, it's quite interesting because it's probably going to be 3-1 the field. But I'm not a huge. I think Home of the Brave is going to be there for the taking, and I think he could set up for Dutch Connection. I don't particularly fancy anything else in the race. I don't think Gifted Master is good enough. Don't think Marquez is good enough. Birchwood has a small chance, but I think Dutch Connection will probably go off favourite, and I think he'll probably win.
Brendan, 3 out of 3, Dutch Connection man as well?
No, I'd probably lean towards Marquez at the price. I just like him. He's a horse with a very good attitude, and I thought that was a good effort the last day up in Newcastle. The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is this race would be run at a good pace if it wasn't for the fact that the two pace angles are in the same stable, Home of the Brave and Gifted Master. But I don't. They're different owners. So I don't know what Palmer's going to say, because you won't want them to cut each other's throats, but he can't tell them to give the other one an advantage. It's a very interesting race from that perspective. I think it'll be a good pace, and I'll chance Marquez at the prices.
And what price is Marquez and what price Dutch Connection and the rest of the field?
Sure, well, we're 7-4 Fav Home of the Brave, 5-2 Dutch Connection, 6-1 Birchwood, 13-2 Marquez, 8-1 the Gifted Master, and 14 Spar.
Brendan, the vintage comes 35 minutes before that. It looks closely matched between the top two, and then plenty of unexposed types beneath it, obviously, in a race like this. Can you give us a betting for that?
Certainly. 15-8 War Decree, 5-2 Boynton, 7-1 Larchmont Lad, 10-1 Isomer, 11-1 Thunder Snow, and 14 Spar. Now,
do you think Boynton can confirm the superlative stakes form with War Decree?
I do. But I think the betting is right. It's always very interesting when you get a situation like this for one. So what did they go off the last day? 7-1 Boynton and evens War Decree. Now, I didn't see anything in the race. In fact, Boynton was quite free, so I think he could even improve a bit more off the run. But it seems like 90% of the time, when there's a huge gap between two horses in the previous race, the betting, while closer, still leans towards the horse who was the shorter price the previous time. So I think War Decree will go off Fav, but I think Boynton's the bet.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. And David, is it between these two? Can you see something else coming through?
I can't believe the price of Thunder Snow, the other Godolphin horse in the race. I just don't get it. I don't get why the two, War Decree and Boynton, are so much shorter than everything else in the field. I wasn't, before it was priced up and I seen the runners, I just presumed it would be roughly, War Decree 5-2, 11-4, Boynton maybe a little bit bigger than that. I thought Thunder Snow would be about 5. I didn't think he ran that bad at all in the Coventry, which has proven time and time again to be the top 2-year-old race this year. The form is working out well with Maymas, even the likes of the Crisford horse, Mocarrot, bolted up since then. I know Psychedelic Funk has been beaten, but it looked a top class Coventry, and Thunder Snow I thought ran better than his finishing position suggested. He made a move, kind of mid-race move, because I think he wants 7, I don't think he wants 6. He made a mid-race move to kind of lead about 2 furlongs out, and then he just didn't have the pace to kind of keep the others at bay. But it says he was beaten 8.5 lengths. I thought he ran better than that. I certainly don't think he's a 12 or 14 to 1 shot. I think he's more a 5 to 1 shot. So do for me.
Nick?
No strong fancies in this race, to be honest, Mark. I'd agree with what the other said. I think, the two at the front end of the market are a little bit too short for my liking. Out of the two of them, I'd probably just give the vote to War Decree. I think he's £3 better off now for 3/4 of a length beating last time. Might just tip it in his favour, but it's a marginal call really, and it's a no bet race. I think there's many more interesting kind of betting angle races tomorrow at Goodwood than this particular one.
Well, Nick, come on, tell us what you like then. If you don't like anything in the vintage, where's the money going?
Oh, I really like in the first race. I'm taking Godolphin to get off to a good start with Best of Times. I think he's really interesting. He was below par at Sandown last time out, not a great run. But if you ignore that, solid form prior to that, and it's good form at Goodwood as well. He won his maiden there last year. He's second in the Cocked Hat behind Storm the Stars. Got really good course form. I think he's got cheek pieces on for the first time as well. So I think there's plenty of positives to his chance, and I tend to write off that last run at Sandown, and I think he has got a good squeak at and hopefully a quite decent price. David,
what do you like on the rest of the Goodwood card?
Yeah, it's an interesting card, all right. I can see where Nick is coming from with that in the opener. It's always a race I like, that first race. It's a race that's kind of, there's always one that proves to be thrown in on the best of its form, and Best of Time certainly has a chance. The one that I was given another chance to for similar type of reasons to Nick was Michael Stout's horse, Muta Mackin. Because the last day of Sandown, it was desperate ground, and Hannigan kind of brought him to the near side rail, and he seemed to hate the ground, I thought, that day, because it was good to firm the last day at one at Sandown. I think he's a kind of a war front gelding, so better ground certainly suits Warfront, and I just thought the last day was sent off favourite, but I still thought there was negatives in the market because of the ground. I think the time before standing, I thought he was quite impressive, and I think he's a progressive type of 4-year-old that Michael Stoute does well with. He's drawn and stalled one. I just think he's a completely different horse to the one we saw last time at standing. So I'll take Nick on with Mutamakin.
David, what about in the 1 mile 6 race, 345, the £100,000 handicap?
Kiwi is a horse that I've shares in at this stage. When he was with John Ferguson, I thought he was going to make it big time over hurdles. I think at one stage I was even fancying him for Supreme Novice Hurdle until it went very badly wrong. But second to Jenny Jewel in the Ascot Stakes, that was a cracking effort because it was his first run since October, since he ran it at Aintree. And I like that run. I think he's plenty of ability. Now, whether he wants a bit of cut in the ground, he probably does. But I still think off 104, he might just, he's well able to compete off that type of mark. He's plenty of ability. It's an open race again, like so many on the card. I think King Bolete is probably a bit short in the market. Just did what he had to do the last day at Haydock. But I take the favourite on with Dewey.
Brendan, what sort of prices can we get about best of times in the 2 o'clock?
9 to 1 best of times in the 2 o'clock, and I imagine that will be painted to the board.
Painted to the board.
Well,
okay.
he's just a bookie's horse, this horse, isn't he? He just flatters every time.
Okay. And what about the stout horse in that one?
Mutamakin 8 to 1.
8 to 1. And in the 100 grand summer stakes, QE. What kind of price?
He is second favourite at 13 to 2 behind King Bolette at 9 to 2.
Now, what do you like on the rest of the card, Brendan?
There's a filly of Rafe Beckett's runs in there's a filly's handicap called Pure Art. She's been second on her last 2 runs, but I think she's run into 2 good ones on both occasions. Still well handicapped. Very competitive again, but she'd be my bet on the card tomorrow.
Here's Paddy Power's latest offer for Galway. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second or third in one race every day of the festival. Max £25 per race, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Okay, let's go straight back to David Jennings and Brendan in Ireland. David, Galway, you've fired up for this, I should imagine. What are your best bets tomorrow?
Yeah, I just actually did Dermot Wells' column with him there for tomorrow's paper, and this is probably his strongest day. I think he has 6 runners on the card. He's going to have a load of favourites. And the one that everybody's going to be interested in is this, as Brendan will allude to probably in a little while, in the Fillies maiden, Azira, the horse that went in to poke a couple of eyes out on its debut at Tipperary when Lee Roach was very considerate in the closing stages. Beaten about a length there, but looked far better than the bare results. I say she's pretty good. I say she could be a stakes filly in the making. She's drawn in stall 11, so it's not ideal, but I'd imagine she's probably good enough to cope with the draw. So she's interesting. I actually, nothing that he said or anything like that. I actually think Ashraf, first-time visor in the big race, the Colin Quinn BMW Mile Handicap. I think Ashraf could be a group horse. He's running off 102. Nothing went right the last day at Leopardstown. Pat Mullinger caught on the inside and just got bottled up the whole way up the home straight. He's been drawn in stall 1, wears a visor for the first time. The rain's come in time. I just think he could prove a class above them. I like the horse. I didn't like the way he drifted the last day at Leopardstown. He was very, very easy to back, but I think the rain has come in time, and I think Ashraf will take the world of beating in that 720. And one other one, another Dermot Wells horse that should have every chance is Malinka in the 750, the 7 furlong handicap. Won on bottomless ground at Limerick the last day, but has been given an open mark at 76. It was a desperate race. It was a desperate race that she won at Limerick, but 76 seems to be fairly decent mark. She's dropped back in trip, so maybe Malinka the 750 as well.
Well, David, you've got the inside track with Dermot Weld, our new guest columnist. How many winners do you think he's going to have during the week?
It'll be interesting. I think Tuesday is his big day. I think he's got, as we said already, we've got Azira. He's got 2 in the big race, the mile handicap, Caralara and Ashraf. He's got Malinka. He's got Monaco in a race that he does very well in, and he's got the hard to pronounce Sikandarabad.
Very good.
Sikandarabad. I got there in the end. Sikandarabad in the other maiden, who hasn't ran for over a year. But he's going to have probably 4 favourites on Tuesday. He has 3 favourites on Monday. We're obviously doing this before Monday's card. I think he will have over 12, in between 12 and 17, I'd say. So maybe 13 or 14, I'd say.
Oh my God.
What? Yes, Brendan?
Well, you're going to have to, I know you're stopped off on the way to Galway, you're going to have to pop into a Paddy Power shop.
I haven't seen the betting there.
8 or more winners, 15-8. Time to bet the farm.
Wow. That's
there you
bigger
go.
than usual, is it?
Well, of course, perhaps it's an overreaction to last year. I thought we crunched the numbers pretty well, but last year, what did you have last year, 5?
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah, maybe.
But of course, I mean, one year he nearly 20, so...
He had
anyway.
17 in 2011, and...
Right.
Now, look, he told me he's only got 3 or 4 jumpers. Silver Concord. See, Silver Concord is going to run in the maiden hurdle on Wednesday, and barring accident, that could be a 2-7 shot. So there's one up straight away, and he's going to run in the Galway hurdle then on Thursday. And like this is the era. Tomorrow is going to be long odds on, so there's going to be a lot of odds on favourites. So I don't know. I certainly think he'll have 10 or more anyway.
Right.
It's getting low already, David. He was 12 to 17. Now he's saying he's 10.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely have 3 or more winners over the week.
Brendan, what do you like tomorrow?
Well, David has already touched on that Azira. I mean, the only issue with her is she's drawn 11. But I mean, Lee Roach is up for a professorship in Trinity after that ride the last day, as educational as you will ever see. So I don't think the draw can get her beat. So she should be winning. The first race is interesting. Oathkeeper, he'll be favourite, but I think he'll win. Penhill was very weak in the bet in the last day. I don't think they think he's much use.
He burst the last day. He blood all over his face when he came back into the parade ring. Yeah.
Well, that's a worry as well. So we should get him beat. And Master of Verse, he's been getting beaten Limerick and Downpatrick. I think Oathkeeper should be good enough in the first at not a big price. Then it'd be interesting to see what price Briar Hill is in the beginner's chase, because he's way better than these, but I can't remember the last time he ran a good race, so just interested to see how the market reacts to him. And Azira, they're the interesting horses for me tomorrow.
Nick, you've got your eye on this too.
Yeah, well, Brendan's just stolen my thunder because I'm not tipping him, but Briar Hill is an interesting one in chase debut, isn't he? Because I seem to remember he fractured his skull when he fell in the Albert Bartlett at Cheltenham a few years ago.
Right, yeah.
He had a crunching fall, I think Navan, maybe last season or the season before. He's not an obvious one you'd think would excel over fences. I'm quite surprised Willie's pointing him that direction. He's an 8-year-old already as well, so whether he can be beaten, I certainly wouldn't be taking short odds on Briar Hill. And just a quick word on Azira. I mean, it's all been said before, but just the last 3 winners of the Fillies Maiden were Tarfasha, Legatissimo, and Now or Never. So it tends to throw up a really, really good horse. So whatever wins that, if it is Azira, they're going to be pretty good, judging by the last 3 seasons.
Here's Paddy Power's latest offer for Glorious Goodwood. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP5 in every single race throughout the festival. Max £25 per race, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Right, we've got off covered the Tuesday of Goodwood, first couple of days Galway. Now the rest of Goodwood, the Sussex on Wednesday looks an absolute stormer. Nick, it's a rerun of St James's Palace. How do you see this one going?
I've always had a feeling that this could be the perfect race for the Gurkha. Maybe we're being unfair to Galileo Gold saying that the Gurkha didn't get the best of rides at Ascot, because that's kind of denigrating what Galileo Gold did. He was very, very good on the day, but maybe if Ryan Moore had his time again, he may have had him a bit closer. In the home straight, may have didn't probably get it just right, and then last time at Sandown may have just found it too far. Maybe I'm making excuses for the horse, but I just think this might be perfect for him. He's had a few tough races in a short space of time, but he seems to take them very well, and he seems to hold his form very well as well. So it's going to be an absolute cracking race. And as Brendan said at the start of the show, if this has been billed as a Jewel of the Downs, then that's wrong, because there's many more horses than just 2 in this, and I wouldn't put anyone off Ortad either. But if we've got to go for one, I'm going to stick with the Gurkha. Brendan,
you must love the Gurkha. Keeps getting backed and keeps getting beaten.
Yes, yeah. I suppose Johnny Ward thinks he was an unlucky loser in Ascot. You can definitely make the case. It wasn't an optimal ride, but he was beaten a length and a quarter with Frankie celebrating 5 strides from the line. So I don't know. And then he's got beaten Sandown, but by an improving horse, and maybe his stamina gave out. Yeah.
What do you like? What do you like?
I kind of like Lightning Spear. I'm a little bit concerned again about the lack of pace in the race. I think Frankie might see this as an opportunity to make all in Galileo Gold, but I'd say it'll be run at an even pace anyway. Lightning Spear, he missed his prep run somewhere. Was it in Windsor? He wanted to have a prep run for Ascot anyway, and he missed it. And then he's gone and run a real good race in Ascot. Ground probably soft enough for him. I think this better ground will help him. He's 10-1. I think he's got a big chance.
So what about the rest of the field, Brendan? What prices are we looking at?
15-8 Galileo Gold, 2-1 the Gurkha, 11-2 Autad, 9-1 Ribchester, 10-1 the Lightning Spear, and 20's Bar.
David, where do you sit on this race?
A little bit like Brendan. I think the Gurkha will probably win, but it's hard enough to make enough of an excuse for him to say that he would have beaten Galileo Gold with a better run and a better ride. Obviously wasn't one of Ryan Moore's finest moments, but as Brendan said, the more I look at it, the more I just wonder. At the time watching it, I was all over the Gurkha that day, and at the time watching it, I was like, what are you doing, Ryan? This is a disgrace. He's the best horse in the race. And then the more I watched it, the more I was like, okay, maybe that was a bit of an overreaction, because Galileo Gold was quite snug at the line. I think the Gurkha will probably win, because I think he is still improving. Loved the way he travelled the last day in the Eclipse, and I think the Eclipse just might have been an afterthought. Just everything kind of fell into place, and Aidan kind of said, right, we'll give him a lash, we'll give him a workout the week before, just see how he is, and it worked well, obviously, and then they went for the race. I don't think it was plan A. I think he'll probably win, but I think he's the right price. I think, Lightning Spear, I can see where Brendan's coming from. Autad apparently worked spectacularly last week, so that's interesting. He seems to be back to himself. Whether he'll cope with the ground or not, I'm not quite sure. Probably just the Gurkha. Okay,
quickly, chaps. What's your best bet at Goodwood this week? And Brendan can give us the prices for them as well. David?
Yeah, sure.
Goodwood. Best bet. To be honest, I just think Thunder Snow is too big in that race tomorrow. I don't think he should be 14-1. I really don't. Is he 12 to 2, Brendan?
He's 11, Dave. The Sharks have already been in, taking the 14s. Was that you? You little rascal.
I was on, yeah.
Brendan, what's your best bet at Goodwood?
Dunica in the Betfred Mile. I've been banging the Dunica drum for some time on these things, so I'm on tenterhooks waiting for the draw, but he's my bet of the week no matter what. I'll back him if he's drawn out in the car park.
Yeah, you will anyway, yeah?
Yeah,
okay. Nick?
OCR and Alan King's horse in a 2-mile 5 handicap first race on Wednesday. These staying events, they're brilliant for the jumps trainers these days. They seem to win more of them than they don't. And OCR won at Ascot last time out. I think that could be a good thing on Wednesday.
Right, let's go turn to Galway now. David, who's going to win the plate on Wednesday and the hurdle on Thursday?
I actually fancy a horse at a big price in the Galway plate. He's a horse I've been interested in since I've seen the entries, and I spoke to Henry de Bromhead a few weeks ago at Limerick after he'd the winner, and I was asking about his Galway plate team, and he straight away mentioned Home Farm, and that made me that put him on my radar. His form over the last kind of 18 months has been atrocious. It really has. I think he's dropped from a mark of 156 down to 144. But I always thought he was touched on kind of grade 2 over fences, grade 2 status over fences. If everything has gone right, and I don't know if it has or not, if it has gone right, I think he's crept down to a nice mark. Road to Riches allows him to get in with a nice weight. I don't think I think he's capable of running a really, really big race, and I think 33-1 or 25-1 is too big for a horse of his quality. Look, it's a shot in the dark because his best form has been from a long time ago, but I do think he's a decent horse, and at that price, I think he's worth taking. So that's Home Farm in the plate. And in the hurdle, I said it already about Silver Concord. Look, this horse is rated 134. He won a Cheltenham bumper. He has all the ability in the world. If you watch the Chester Cup again, how he didn't win the Chester Cup, and it was a phenomenal performance to get as close as he did. The Chester Cup was in May, so it's not that long ago. He has plenty of ability. He runs in a maiden hurdle, the first race on Wednesday. I'd imagine he'll win that with his eyes closed. That'll set him up perfectly, I hope, for the hurdle. I just think off 134, he has to be back.
David, this is all about the ground, isn't it? You mentioned there might be some rain in the air at Galway. This horse is so ground dependent. If it's good or quicker, he's got a massive chance. But we saw at Ascot last time, if it's kind of rain softened ground, it really blunts him and he can't use that turn of foot. So it's cut and dried in that sense, isn't it?
I don't think it's going to be bottomless, though. I think it's showery, kind of horrible. Like for race scores, it's going to be horrible because you're going to be in and out and in and out. But as in ground-wise, I don't think it's going to get into the ground that much because it's not sustained rain all day. Like, it's not a period of rain where you're going to have 2 or 3 hours of solid rain. I think it's going to be showery, and I don't think it's going to be soft ground. If I was to guess what the ground would be for the Galway hurdle on Thursday, it'll probably be good soft, and I think it'll be quick enough for him to do himself justice, I think.
Well, I'm going to follow him in again. I'm going to go with David on that one. And for the plate, I just wonder if everything's in place for Killer Crow at last. He was on everyone's radar, wasn't he, after he finished second to Empire of Dirt back in the winter time. Hasn't quite done it since. Was balloted out of Cheltenham, then went to the Irish National, didn't stay. 2 miles, 6 round Galway. That might be ideal for him.
Brendan, can you give us the prices and, of course, your tips?
Sure, with the plate, we're 9-2 Fav Road to Riches, 10-1 Alecki Inwat and Clarkham, 12-1 Sadler's Risk and Ballycasey, 14s brings in Killer Crow, Carriganog, Junction 14, Shantou Flyer and Three Kingdoms, 16s bar, 25-1 David Shout Home Farm. And for the Galway hurdle we are 4-1 Superb Story, 5-1 Max Dynamite, 7-1 the Clondalk Warrior, 8-1 Bamako Riviere and Silver Concord, 10-1 DeSoto County, 12-1 Quick Jack and Moon over Germany, and 14s bar.
Before we go, Brendan, let's get your tips for the plate and the hurdle.
No worries, Mark. I quite like Sadler's Risk in the plate. I've never seen him jump as well as he jumped the last day behind that Alecki Inwa. It looked a prep for this, and I'd expect him to go close at a decent price. And in the hurdle, that Moon over Germany, he brings good novice form to the table. Eddie Harty seems keen on him. Davy Russell booked, and the run behind Ivan Grozny the last day looked a prep for this. So I'd chance the pair of those.
OK, that's it for today. Join us on Friday when we'll be looking at the Nassau Stakes and the Stewards Cup from Goodwood, plus day 6 of the Galway Festival.
The Race and Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.